Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to our main agenda. First, I would like to invite our first speaker, Director of Tax Regulations 1, Pak Arif Yanuar. Pak Arif Yanuar is in charge of formulating and implementing regulations in the area of general provisions and tax procedures, value-added tax, and stamp duty. In this opportunity, he will talk about VAT on import digital products. And without any further ado, I'm giving the control to Pak Arif Yanuar. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Faisal. Your Excellency, Mr. Suryo Utomo, Director General of Taxes. Your Excellency, Ambassador Michael Maisalak, Senior President and Regional Managing Director, U.S. ASEAN Business Council. Your Excellency, Member of U.S. ASEAN Business Council, Member of American Chamber of Commerce, Member of European Chamber of Commerce, Honorable Director of Directorate General of Taxes, Honorable Officer of Directorate General of Taxes, distinguished guests, all participants of webinar of VAT on sales of digital goods and services to Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to express our gratitude to all participants for joining webinar today. As you may know, that the government of Indonesia in April 2020 had just stipulated the Minister of Finance Regulation number 48. I'm truly grateful that all of you who participated in drafting process of that Minister of Finance Regulation. We really appreciate an assistance from those who represent overseas digital service that actively participate in the discussion with the team of DGT, so that this Minister of Finance regulated could be finalized. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to inform you that the imposition of VAT on utilization of intangible goods and service from overseas within the Indonesia custom area paid by the customer themselves. By the command of this Minister of Finance Regulation, the transaction of intangible goods and service, the VAT collection mechanism has been changed to be levied by VAT collector that appointed by the Minister of Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to inform you that the Minister of Finance Regulation only regulated general norms and does not regulate penalty and enforcement. The principle that we adopt in the Minister of Finance Regulation are easiness and simplicity, such as the documentation, deposit, and reporting VAT collection, which included number one, proof of VAT collection can still use commercial invoice or billing or order receipt or other similar document that you have made according to the standard of your business. Number two, VAT collected is remitted electronically every month and may use US dollar currency or Indonesian rupiah. And in the future, we will try to provide other option of currency. Number three, report of VAT collection is submitted electronically every 3 months. VAT collector have to do is report the aggregate number of consumers, value of transaction, and also VAT collected and remitted. In the principle of easiness and simplicity that we adopt, expandedly overseas digital service who will appointed as VAT collector can implement this new provision easily and simply. A more detailed explanation of this Minister of Finance will be presented by Mr. Ani. And the last, I would like to thank all of you of this webinar participant. Mrs. Anik, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Arif. Pak Suryo, the Director General of Taxes, also Board of Directors, and His Excellency Ambassador Michael Michalak, Mr. Lin Newman. Good afternoon. I am very pleased today to be able to speak to you, and we are so happy to be able to welcome also those from Sweden, from Australia, from Hong Kong, Thailand, also from Japan. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Ani. I'm the Deputy Director for Public Relations here in DGT, and I'm very happy to speak to all of you about the VAT on sales of digital products to Indonesian customers. Before we start, I would like to share a little bit about the background of these regulations. VAT, as mentioned before by Pak Arif and Pak Suryo, that VAT has been in place in Indonesia since 1984. VAT is not a new tax in Indonesia. Most goods and services consumed in Indonesia are taxed VAT with a flat rate 10%. Millions of consumers in Indonesia now acquire and use services and goods over the internet, including from overseas sellers. That is why this new regulation is very interesting, because I believe it is undeniable. All countries are talking. This is a top issue to speak about digital economy, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Such imports of digital products to consumers in Indonesia by overseas sellers do not include VAT. And this creates an uneven playing field to domestic businesses. To rectify this, the Indonesian government is introducing a new mechanism to collect VAT from imported digital products. Regional and global comparisons reveal that such VAT collections is part of growing international best practice. That Indonesia is not the first country to impose the VAT on digital products. We know that Australia already have, Singapore, Malaysia, they already have this VAT. Next. So here are the highlights of these new VAT rules. It will be started from July 1st, 2020. That VAT will apply to sales of digital products by overseas sellers to Indonesian customers. Overseas business selling digital products to Indonesian customers will be responsible for first charging the VAT and collecting VAT, and then meeting reporting, payment, and record keeping requirements. How to charge and collect the VAT, and how to report it, how to pay to Indonesian government will be explained after this. But first, let's define who Indonesian customers are. First, customers providing Indonesian billing address or mailing address. Customers paying with payment facilities issued or provided by Indonesian financial institutions. Like I usually use my credit card to buy digital products, and I use my credit card issued by Indonesia, bank in Indonesia. So yeah, like that. And then customers placing orders using Indonesian Internet Protocol address or country calling code, Indonesia is 62. Those are the Indonesian customers. So what are the products covered by the new measure? Is it not only digital goods, but also digital services? Digital goods including but not limited to movies, music, and other audio-visual content, computer software, mobile apps, and games. Who doesn't play games nowadays? Electronic books, magazines, and comics. And digital services, including but not limited to web hosting, video conferencing services, other services delivered through computer network. Those are the products covered by this VAT for digital products. So who charges the VAT? Sellers who met certain conditions will be appointed by the Directorate General of Taxes of Indonesia to charge VAT. So you have to wait until you get appointed. Or if you're not appointed, you can inform, you are invited to inform the DGT to be appointed as VAT collector for digital products in Indonesia. Sellers include overseas merchants or online retailers selling digital goods or digital services, overseas online marketplace operators, Indonesian online marketplace operators that sells digital products from outside Indonesia, and the conditions include sales threshold, a number of visitors, and or amount of traffic. Details to be announced later in the DG regulations. I know a lot of people are asking what is the amount of the threshold, yeah, and how about the traffic? And I think Indonesia, we agree that we also learn from other countries, like benchmarking with other countries about this threshold, even though I don't know the number yet. But I think here the stressing is that we ask the overseas sellers to collect VAT from products, digital products that bought by Indonesian customers. Next. How to comply with the new VAT measure? When to charge the VAT? The rate is 10%, and it is applied at the point of sale against the taxable amount, which is the amount payable by the customer before any taxes. So I was asked also, what if we have discount? So the VAT is on point of sale. So how much the customer is paying, that's you charge 10% VAT from the amount that they pay from the Indonesian consumers. And the seller must issue a VAT receipt. I think Pak Arif already mentioned before, the VAT receipt showing the amount of payment and detailing the VAT component of the sale. So it doesn't have to be a new. I believe all sellers have their own billing system or invoice that we can use it, but now with VAT 10% in that receipt. Next. And about the payments, all VAT collected during 1 month must be paid to the Indonesian government, and the due date is by the end of the following month. So for example, let's say your company has been appointed to be VAT collector on July 15, 2020. When you should start charge VAT on Indonesian customers? Started on August 1st. When you should pay the tax collected, the VAT collected for all the month in August, at least by the end of September. And payment can be made in Indonesian rupiah, United States dollar, or other currencies approved by the Directorate General of Taxes. Next. And now we go to the reporting. So appointed sellers will need to submit quarterly VAT reports. So the quarterly is first quarter is January, February, March, and then April, May, June. So for the first quarter, January, February, March, the report will be at the end of April. So April 30th. And then for the second quarter, April, May, June, the reporting would be at the end of July. And for the third quarter, July, August, September, the reporting should be at October 31st. And then for the last quarter, October, November, December, the reporting will be on January 31st the following year. The Directorate General of Taxes may require a seller to provide a detailed report covering a period of 1 calendar year. At a minimum, this report should include the record number and dates of VAT receipts, amount of sales, amount of VAT collected, names and tax identification numbers of the customers if TINs are stated on the VAT receipts. Next, this is for example, to make it easy for all of us, and I hope you understand my presentations. Movie Streaming Limited, a merchant in the United Kingdom, satisfies the threshold requirements. And the Director General of Taxes on July 10, 2020, appoints Movie Streaming Limited as a VAT collector. So from August 1st, 2020, all sales made by Movie Streaming Limited to Indonesian customers are taxable sales, 10% VAT. On 1st August 2020, let's say Nadia, an Indonesian customer, buys a digital product from Movie Streaming, the seller must charge Nadia a price that includes the VAT. If the price of the product before was $30, then Movie Streaming Limited should charge Nadia $33, which includes a $3 VAT component. Movie Streaming must pay the VAT it collects in August 2020 by the payment due date, which is the end of the following month, namely September 30, 2020. The VAT collector must also submit its VAT return for August to September 2020 in the quarterly report period July to September 2020 by the fillings due date, which is the end of the following month, namely October 31st, 2020. I mentioned that before. Next. Oh yeah, this is also one of the topic that has been, is very popular when these regulations issued. How about the B2B transactions? This regulation includes both, yeah, B2C and B2B transactions. Well, honestly speaking, or to make it simple, that Indonesian, we don't really see to who you sell your products. We just ask you to collect the VAT. A business buyer can claim input tax, yes. But in order to do so, the buyer must supply its name and tax identification number, known as NPWP in Indonesia, to the seller to be recorded in the invoice. At a minimum, the invoice must also contain the following information: number and date of the invoice, name and identity of the VAT collector, types of goods or services purchased, amount of payment, and amount of VAT collected. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much. I give it back to the moderator. Faisal, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Pak Arif Yanuar, and thank you to Ibu Ani Natalia for having provided such a technical presentation on the imposition of value-added tax on import digital products. I think I will keep the Q&A session at the final session of this webinar, and I think we will move on to the next speaker. I would like to invite our second speaker, Director of International Taxation, Pak John Hutagal. Pak John is the one who is taking care of the implementation of exchange of information, the formulation and the implementation of tax treaties and other international tax agreements, and the negotiation of advanced pricing agreements and mutual agreement procedures. In this occasion, he will do a presentation on income tax on transnational digital economy. I'm giving the floor to Mr. John Hutagal.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, nama budaya, salam kebajikan. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of you and hope find you all are well. But before I start, I would like to firstly welcome the Ambassador Michael Mishlek, Senior Vice President and Regional Managing Director of USABC, and all the members of USABC. Mr. Lynn Newman, Managing Director of NCHEM and members of NCHEM. Mr. Omar Abdul Qadir, Head of Finance, Tax and Investment Working Group, Eurochamber, and members of Eurochamber, and Mr. Mark Cook, Macroeconomic and Finance Chief in U.S. Embassy. And with regards the month of Ramadan, in this opportunity, I would like to say Happy Eid Mubarak, with hoping we could keep our healthy and safe life during a COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, just refreshing that on the end of March 2020, Government of Indonesia has launched government regulation in lieu law number 1 year 2020, known as Perpu number 1, which is later stipulated by law number 2 year 2020 concerning state financial policy and stability of financial systems for the management of coronavirus disease 2019, or encounter the threat to national economy and stability of financial system. Based on the law number 2 year 2020, Government of Indonesia has regulated tax policy measures on digital economy activities. In the previous session, you all have been informed and discussed about VAT treatment on digital economy transaction. Now we proceed to discuss about income tax and electronic transaction tax treatment on digital economy transactions. Unlike VAT, both taxes will be implemented later because we wait and want to see the global consensus process about Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 that would be settled by the end of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, digital economy transaction, which has the specific characteristics such as scale without mass, reliance on intellectual property, data mining, and user participation, could be carried out without limited by time, space, and no need physical presence, because this could be replaced by digital. Nowadays, we have found that cross-border transactions could be occurred without any physical presence of business companies. For example, Indonesian consumer could enjoy music and other gaming services provided by foreign enterprises without their presence in Indonesia. So far, the income derived from Indonesia, it is not subjected to tax in Indonesia. Based on law number 2, year 2020, we wish to collect tax on that income with aiming, other than obtaining additional tax revenue, to maintain equal treatment between local and foreign online business, and then equal treatment between online business and conventional business players. Ladies and gentlemen, with regards to the electronic trading, or known as PMSE, please see the slide presentation on the screen. A foreign business on the left side, probably on your side is on the right side, yeah? Please see the slide on my screen. A foreign business derive income from sale of goods and or service from outside Indonesia to its Indonesian customers. The foreign business is deemed to meet significant economic presence criteria in Indonesia if meets certain threshold for global consolidated turnover, sales in Indonesia, and or active digital media user in Indonesia, which will be regulated later in Minister of Finance regulation. However, if a foreign business does not meet significant economic presence criteria, such as foreign business is considered as non-resident taxpayer, and it is not subject to tax for both income tax and electronic transaction tax, if they don't meet significant economic presence criteria. So the foreign business not subject either income tax or electronic transaction tax. Ladies and gentlemen, if a foreign business meets the significant economic criteria, there are three alternative criteria on the left side on the screen. If they meet significant economic criteria and is a resident from the treaty partners jurisdiction, recently we have 70 treaties enacted in the beginning of 2020. Then such foreign business is recognized as taxpayer for electronic transaction tax. If they meet SAP criteria and they are from a treaty partner jurisdiction, so the foreign business could be classified as taxpayer for electronic transaction tax. Electronic transaction tax is a new tax and not a part of income tax. However, if a foreign business meet significant economic criteria, but it is not from a resident of treaty partners jurisdiction, so he or she is deemed to have a permanent establishment for income tax purposes. Yeah, the difference is the only from where they are from. If they are from non-resident treaty partners, so the foreign business player could be deemed to have a permanent establishment. If they're from the treaty partners, so we can deem he classified as a taxpayer for electronic transaction tax. The implementing regulation of income tax and electronic transaction tax, for example, about the tax rate, yeah, registration, reporting, payment, representative office, criteria of significant economic presence, and any other administrative requirement are regulated later by the government regulation and Ministry of Finance regulation. Once again, we still hold this regulation for a while and are waiting for the long-term solution for the global consensus that expected will be conclude the end of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, that's bring us to the end of my presentation. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention today. I will return back the floor to Pak Faisal, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak John, for delivering such a great presentation on income tax on transnational digital economy. So we have already covered two substantive presentations on our main agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's the final question that we are able to capture at this moment. Due to the limited amount of time we apologize for being unable to receive and respond to more questions. As mentioned earlier, we'll put your questions together with the answers in our frequently asked questions list in our landing page on digital text by the address of, please listen carefully, www.pajak.go.id/en/digital text. And you are also still free to offer questions to us through our dedicated email address at digitaltext@pajak.go.id. Before concluding the session, I will offer the opportunity to Pak Surya Utomo to provide his concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Faisal. Thank you very much, all of the audience. With to all my respect, I will say thank you for your participation, and we hope actually that the new regime of the tax collector in Indonesia can be implemented very smooth. That's why we are open for further discussion. We are very welcome for further assistance if you need some assistance. And we hope we can give the regulation of the implementation of the tax collector itself in a simple, proper, and convenient way. Thank you very much for myself. See you.
Thank you, Pak Surya. I think we have now arrived at the final session of this webinar. We once again thank all of the participants for joining this webinar. Thank you to US Chamber, US Asian Business Council, and European Chamber for helping us in coordinating this event. Our special thanks go to our resource speakers, Pak Arif Yanuar, Director of Tax Regulations 1, Pak John Hutagal, Director of International Taxation, and Ibu Ani Natalia, Deputy Director for Public Relations. Our high appreciation goes to Pak Surya Utomo, Director General of Taxes, for having directly and actively supervised the organization of this event and also participated in answering many questions from the participants. We once again apologize for any inconveniences and we hope to see you in some other occasions. Thank you very much.